In the late 1800s and early 1900s, people in Europe and the United States believed that modern urban life had a negative impact on young men and boys in society. To combat this perceived trend, several individuals began developing programs to help reintroduce boys to adventure in the great outdoors. One of these was Baden-Powell. When he presented his scheme for scouting to the public, he went to great lengths to ensure his ideas were received in a non-military way. He insisted his scouts would be peacetime scouts and not wartime scouts, despite a program that was first based on his training manual designed to prepare Englishmen for military service in the British Army, a uniform that resembled a military uniform, and a desire for scouts to be able marksmen with a rifle. His program would introduce the boys and their leaders to woodcraft skills, self-reliance, ethics and morals, citizenship, fitness, and manliness. When BP Scouting came to the United States in 1909 and the Boy Scouts of America was founded in 1910, many of these same objectives lay at the heart of the program. However, the target market for the BSA was almost exclusively boys between 12 and 18 who lived in an urban or city environment and were far removed from the outdoors and experiences that fostered these manly virtues. The BSA also looked to Americanize the many immigrant boys who were flooding American cities as their families came to the United States in search of a better life. Part of the initial scouting program that came from England was one of the first 14 badges of merit, Marksmanship. We'll learn more about marksmanship and its role in the development of scouting, as well as several commemorative firearms found in the collection of the National Scouting Museum in this edition of Artifact of the Week. In the early 1900s, the differences in the culture of owning and using firearms between England and the United States were distinct. While BP saw the use of firearms as a way to help his scouts develop a useful skill, while at the same time developing patriotism, responsibility, self-control, and fitness, he also had to avoid stirring up anti-military sentiments in England. For the BSA, there was a balancing act of developing the same qualities and skills using firearms while at the same time distancing the organization from other scouting organizations such as the United States Boy Scouts and the American Boy Scouts, both of which took a much more militaristic approach to their scouting programs. In the 1910 original edition of the Boy Scout Handbook, marksmanship was one of the initial merit badges offered for a scout to earn. The requirements say that the NRA standard targets, with the included scoring values assigned, are to be used to qualify for the merit badge. In the 1911 first edition of the Scout Handbook, the requirements changed to simply qualify as a marksman according to the regulations of the National Rifle Association. As I mentioned earlier, the BSA wanted to use firearms as a tool to achieve some of its program objectives while remaining non-militaristic in its presentation. Enter its collaboration with the National Rifle Association. The NRA was founded in 1871 by two Union Army officers who were disappointed by the marksmanship level of the average soldier in the Civil War. Early in its history, the NRA advocated marksmanship training as a means to build strong, masculine citizenship. The NRA sought to domesticate marksmanship as disciplined recreation through competitive rifle shooting. In 1903, in support of the NRA's goals, Teddy Roosevelt created the National Board for the Promotion of Rifle Practice, and the NRA founded its first youth programs, establishing rifle ranges at all major universities and colleges. By 1906, the NRA was sponsoring competitive shooting events for boys in their junior program. Working with the NRA allowed the BSA to field a marksmanship program without appearing to be a paramilitary organization, unlike the other competing scouting organizations. It also allowed the BSA to gain the advantage of what we would today call content matter experts without having to develop a BSA-specific program. In the early days of the organization, very few marksmanship merit badges were awarded. Some attributed this to pressure being applied by Andrew Carnegie and the peace movement found in the United States. This pressure was also seen as a driving force in why the BSA refused to adopt the American Boy Scout .22 caliber rifle designed by Remington Arms. In 1930, the first marksmanship merit badge pamphlet was issued. This 26-page booklet outlined the requirements for the merit badge and provided additional information that could not be practically included in the Scout Handbook where merit badge requirements were found. On page 1 of the pamphlet, the author brings back the themes of physical fitness that were touted in 1910 to help bring marksmanship to the BSA program. From the physical side, there is much to be said for rifle practice. To become a good marksman, one's nerves must be in good order, eyes clear, muscles under control. In fact, there must be an almost perfect coordination of all parts of the body. It must be recognized, though, that marksmanship is a means to an end, but by no means the end. Scouts are encouraged to learn to handle the rifle, not that they may become experts in shooting, but that in becoming experts, they may learn to take care of themselves and others, that they may acquire the physical perfection without which good shooting is next to impossible, and that they may have still one more form of competition to stimulate their progress in scoutcraft. Not to be left out of the discussion, the firearm manufacturers, particularly Remington and Daisy, viewed members of the BSA as an important market for their products. Both Remington and Daisy advertised in BSA publications, including this Remington full-page ad in the first edition of the Handbook for Boys, emphasizing qualities such as quickness of eye, steady judgment, and self-confidence. The Daisy Manufacturing Company opened in 1882 as a Michigan windmill company. In 1888, facing financial failure, Daisy created and sold a metal air rifle that soon became very popular and saved the company financially. A lever-action model was introduced in 1903, and in 1914, the pump-action Model 25 was introduced. Over the next 65 years, more than 8 million of the Model 25s were sold. That's just over 123,000 annually. The Model 25 was discontinued in 1979. After World War II, the 1950s provided the next opportunity for the BSA, with support from the NRA, to reassert itself as a leader in using marksmanship to help develop American virtues and values in boys and prevent them from becoming soft in the wake of the war and the affluence that was found in the 1950s America. The BSA went one step further and added that marksmanship should be approached as a family activity. The 1953 Merit Badge pamphlet tells Scouts that everyone, boys and girls, needs to be trained in firearm safety. In 1949, the NRA introduced its famous hunter education program as part of its post-war efforts to show the public that sport shooting was safe. The new program also relied on framing sport hunting not so much about killing animals as much as it was about camaraderie, connecting with nature, self-reliance, and self-discipline. The 1960s and 1970s saw marksmanship take a new direction in the United States and the BSA. The assassination of President Kennedy on November 22, 1963, signaled the changes that were coming, including the changes in the marksmanship merit badge requirements introduced in 1967, which now had Scouts explain the general features of the laws governing the use and possession of firearms in their community. The text of the pamphlet went on to explain that while historic, the 1967 update also saw the change of the merit badge from marksmanship to rifle and shotgun shooting. The name change introduced shotguns to the picture and, for the first time, presented hunting in a context as a viable and acceptable form of wildlife conservation and recognized that boys and their families were participating in hunting activities. Historically, hunting was an activity enjoyed by those living in rural communities, in many cases to provide food for their families, and as sport hunting by the wealthy. Now it was being done in urban and suburban families as well. The focus of the merit badge is on wildlife conservation and hunter-shooter safety. The 1967 revision also represents the first time the BSA attempted to distance itself from the NRA due to the NRA's political stance and resistance to emerging gun control laws of the 1960s. Finally, the 67 pamphlet introduced handguns for the first time, recognized the difficulty in safe handling and the difficulty in shooting well. The authors encouraged Scouts to master rifle shooting before trying pistol shooting. For the most part, the BSA has abandoned its reliance on the romantic past of firearms to continue its support of the activity, with the possible exception of black powder firearms and Western action shooting, focusing more heavily on responsible ownership and safety. In 1989, the merit badge was split into separate merit badges for rifle shooting and shotgun shooting. In the National Scouting Museum collection, we have one of the original American Boy Scout rifles produced by Remington. This rifle was adopted as an official part of the American Boy Scouts, which had strong paramilitary leanings. The rifle came with an optional bayonet. As a side note, in 1912, a member of the American Boy Scouts accidentally shot and killed a fellow ABS Scout. The father of the deceased Scout invited the boys in his son's troop to march in the funeral parade. The BSA rejected the Remington rifle, and it was never part of the BSA program. Winchester Arms issued 2 commemorative .22 caliber rifles in 1985 to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the BSA. In the collection, we have the Winchester Model 9422 XTR Boy Scouts of America Commemorative Carbine. It is a 20-inch barrel. The receiver is coin finished with an elaborate engraving on the side. Winchester manufactured 15,000 of these rifles. The second Winchester rifle produced at the same time was to celebrate Eagle Scouts. 1,000 of these Eagle Scout rifles were produced, however, we do not have one in the collection. Henry Repeating Arms has produced 8 BSA tribute rifles. In the collection, we have 6 of these. On display in the Marchetti room, you will find the Henry Golden Boy Salute to Scouting commemorative rifle. On the stock is a laser-etched representation of Norman Rockwell's I Will Do My Best. The receiver is nickel-plated and engraved with a BSA logo on one side and a banner reading Boy Scouts of America on the opposite side. Etched into the front hand grip are the words duty to God and country, duty to others, and duty to self. The second rifle on display is a Henry Golden Boy Boy Scouts of America Centennial Edition rifle. The Centennial rifle features the Scout Oath and Law scroll work and the BSA logo. On the stock, you will find a gold-filled engraving of the Centennial logo and the forearm a gold-filled etching noting the Centennial edition of the rifle. The third Henry rifle is the Eagle Scout commemorative issue, also based on the Henry Golden Boy design. The receiver is a nickel-plated and is hand-engraved with the image of a majestic bald eagle accented by scroll work and a banner proclaiming once an eagle, always an eagle. On the reverse side of the receiver, you will find the Eagle Scout medal and banners reading Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts of America. The engravings are selectively gold-plated. Inlaid in the walnut stock is a color medallion of the Eagle Scout badge, and on the front hand grip are the rank badges of the Trail to Eagle. Henry Repeating Arms did a second Eagle Scout tribute rifle to celebrate the centennial anniversary of the Eagle Scout rank in 2012. Just like the other Eagle Scout rifle, this is built on the Big Boy design and features a brass receiver engraved with the Eagle Scout medal and nickel-plated to help it pop off the face. On the reverse side of the receiver is a portrait of a bald eagle and a scroll that reads, "To this I pledge my sacred honor." On the buttstock is an engraved bald eagle head and a bald eagle soaring in full flight. The words "Once an eagle, always an eagle" complete the design. The forearm of the rifle depicts different versions of the Eagle Scout badge throughout history, including the Centennial version introduced in 2012. To commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Order of the Arrow, Henry Repeating Arms produced the Order of the Arrow Centennial Rifle. The OA rifle is a Henry Big Boy 44 caliber rifle. The receiver is brass and features a black-filled etching of the Centennial OA logo and a banner stating centuries of service to commemorate the 1915 founding. The left side displays a black-filled etching with the Boy Scouts of America Fleur-de-Lis emblem and a banner with the motto, "A Brotherhood of Cheerful Service and Order of the Arrow." The stock is laser etched with the Order of the Arrow Centennial logo and totem with the commemorative dates 1915 to 2015. The forearm's right side bears the words, "The Admonition." The sixth rifle in the collection is on display in the Philmont Gallery and celebrates Philmont Scout Ranch and its contributions to the adventures of more than 1 million scouts and scouters who have hiked Philmont's trails. The Philmont rifle is built on the Henry Frontier Lever 22 caliber design and features the iconic Philmont bull boxed in gold plate on the receiver. On the stock, there's a laser-etched, hand-painted image of the Tooth of Time. On the front hand grip, you will find the Philmont signature and the cattle and horse brands. So I said there are 8 Henry rifles, but I've only shared the 6 of them that we have in the collection at this time. At the National Order of the Arrow Conference held in July in Boulder, Colorado, they introduced and were pre-selling the latest of the Henry Commemorative Scouting America rifles. The same generous scouter who donated the 6 previous rifles has purchased one of these new OA rifles for the museum, and we are waiting its arrival. The final BSA commemorative rifle produced by Henry was to celebrate the 10th anniversary of venturing. We do not have one of these rifles in the collection. The relationship between the BSA and the NRA remains strong, with a focus on shooter safety and education, while steering clear of the ongoing debate over Second Amendment rights and gun control efforts. The BSA continues to rely on the NRA and the National Camp School program to train and certify instructors and ranges, ensuring a program that is safe and age appropriate and allows scouts of all ages to engage and enjoy at their level of comfort. In September of 2024, the BSA shooting sports program was renamed to Range and Target Activities, with significant changes occurring to program offerings and certification and safety requirements. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Join us next time as we continue to learn more about the history of Scouting America through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.